Is this Sony's next big move? The rest of the world has had a PS5 price increase, and are we next? Can Sony compete with Game Pass, friends, and family? And also, down in the description, I have a ton of links to controllers, SSDs, TVs, monitors, headsets, any accessory you need for your PS5, I have a link for it down in the description. So if you want to help me out, use those links. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to PSReady, the channel all about PlayStation. There is just so much news that we had to do a weekend news video. First of all, we have to talk about the Activision deal that's happening where Microsoft and Xbox are buying Activision. I'm sure you've heard about it hundreds and hundreds of times at this point, but it's a big thing in the games industry because Call of Duty is the biggest franchise in pretty much video games as a whole. Obviously, Sony is a little bit worried that Xbox is going to buy Activision and then immediately make Call of Duty exclusive. Now, Xbox is going out on the offensive or the defensive and saying, no, we are not going to make Call of Duty exclusive. We're going to honor a lot of the deals that we have with Sony already over on Activision side. It's going to be peachy keen. You have nothing to worry about. And I honestly don't blame Sony for not really fully believing them, because after those contracts are up where Sony gets exclusive content on Call of Duty and other Activision games, Microsoft literally can just say, all right, it's been a few years, the purchase agreement has gone through, and yeah, all of these games are going to be exclusive going forward. In the meantime, the way they're playing it is you'll be able to get all of these games on Game Pass, whether it's Call of Duty, Diablo 4, Overwatch 2, anything you can really think of that you would want to play from Activision will probably be on Game Pass in the future. Phil Spencer has said that's his goal here with this big Activision purchase. Obviously, over on the PlayStation side, we're going to have to spend $60 or $70 to get our hands on these games, which is super frustrating also when you consider that with some games like Psychonauts 2 that gets an Xbox Series X version alongside its Xbox One version, over on the PlayStation side, we only got the PS4 version, which is noticeably worse than the Series X version. So that's kind of frustrating. But for right now, Phil Spencer is being very clear that we have nothing to worry about, at least for the time being, because the UK is doing another investigation into this purchase between Microsoft and Activision. They think this could hurt Sony if Microsoft makes Call of Duty exclusive. And obviously over in the UK, PlayStation is much, much bigger than Xbox, so that kind of makes sense. And Microsoft, Phil Spencer himself, did an Xbox blog post where he said, nope, we are going to honor those agreements. And just to really drive the point home that he was being honest, he called back to Microsoft, which Xbox picked up back in 2014, and that's also available on the PS Vita, or at least it was for a really long time. You can play it on PS4 for a really long time, and now you can play it on PS5. He's like, look, we're bringing Minecraft to PlayStation still. We brought Minecraft Dungeons to PlayStation still. We will probably continue to honor Call of Duty on PlayStation, and I believe him on that point. The thing that really worries me with this whole Activision situation is how games have turned out once they get put under Microsoft's umbrella. There's a ton of games that were already being worked on when the studios are bought, like Psychonauts 2 and The Outer Worlds, and those games are fine, but then as soon as these companies get folded under the umbrella, we have no idea what's going on with them. And Microsoft's flagship franchise, Halo Infinite, is just a huge mess right now, and I have seen so many people calling for 343 to be removed from the project. Seeing how that's handled, that's what I'm worried about with the Activision purchase. It still looks like it's going to go through, but for the meantime, we're going to have Call of Duty on PlayStation, and that's good. Next up, we have to talk about Microsoft's next big move on Game Pass, which is friends and family. Basically, just boiling it down so I don't have to talk about it too much here. Xbox is going to allow you and 4 of your friends to share an Xbox Game Pass account, kind of like when you pass your Netflix password around to all of your friends. If you already have Xbox Game Pass stacked up on your Xbox account, you can convert it over to friends and family. It just docks the days you get each month, and they haven't really talked about how much it's going to cost monthly. It seems like around $25 if you do the conversions on the places where it's being tested. I think this is a good deal. I've just seen so many articles being like, is Sony going to copy this? Sony can't compete with this, blah, blah, blah. I still, as always, disagree. You can make Game Pass as cheap as you want. You can give it as many different ways to be used on as many different consoles as you want. The issue is the games are not there. I mean, Microsoft has been releasing some some really good games over the past few years. I will admit, Psychonauts 2 is a great example. Halo Infinite was okay at launch, like I just mentioned, but it's nothing crazy when you compare it to what you're getting on Extra and Premium over on the PlayStation side. Like, we're literally about to get Deathloop for free. Final Fantasy VII Integrate has been on there. Pretty much every old PlayStation exclusive, like Bloodborne, is on there. You've got the PS5 version of Demon's Souls. You've got Returnal, which is one of the best next-gen games yet. Like, there are just so many better options of games to play over on the PlayStation Plus side of the fence that, yeah, I don't think they really need to give us a way to split it between 5 of our friends, which honestly, I don't really want to split Game Pass with 5 of my friends, because you know how it is when you go out to the bar. No one likes that guy who's like hawking everyone to get the $5 that they're owed for a drink on Venmo. It feels like the same thing where you're going to go after your friend group every month. I don't know. I think we're doing just fine over on PlayStation with Essential and Premium, so we don't necessarily need to get this friend subscriptions to PlayStation Plus that I feel like a lot of people ended up just getting at least a year of it for a much cheaper price. So there's really no incentive for people to beg for something like this friends and family plan. I mean, I like these news stories. I think they're good. It's nice to see some positive news around Microsoft. At this point, I would much rather them cool it on the Game Pass updates and fix the games that they've already released. Where I can criticize Sony though is with this whole PS5 price increase situation. If you've been watching the other videos here on the channel, you know what's going on. Sony not only has released a new version of the PS5 that's much lighter, which generally means they've reduced the heatsink even more. That's what I'm guessing. We're going to take a look at it soon, but I'm guessing that they reduced the heatsink even more than the last revision. And on top of that, in every territory outside of the United States at the exact same time, they raised the price on the PS5. So not only did they make it cheaper to produce for them, they also increased the overall base price of it by around 30 to 50 US dollars equivalent, just so they could squeeze out a little bit of profit on every PS5 that's sold. I'm never going to believe that this is a warranted or good idea. I feel like that's their fault for pricing it that way, and passing it off to the consumer is just generally wrong. I just disagree with it, and I hope that they revert the prices sooner rather than later. But of course, because it happened everywhere except the US around the world, people are speculating that we don't have long to wait here either, which is kind of scary. The gist of all the articles I'm seeing is that the inflation that's causing this around the world is just a sign of things to come here in the United States, and I really agree. It's very odd that they raised the price in literally every territory except the United States, and I'm assuming that's because we have the biggest market for the PlayStation 5 here, and they wanted to see if they could get away with it in other countries before they make a big swing move like that and do it here. So what I'm assuming is, because PS5s are still selling out everywhere, they're definitely not easy to get, even in these other countries. As soon as they drop, they get sold immediately. I'm sure Sony's looking at that data and saying, yeah, people are going to complain about it over in the United States, but we're probably going to make way more money on the console, so let's just raise the price anyway. At this point, 2 years into the PS5 life cycle, seeing that they're raising the prices, seeing that we've had so many games come to PS4 as well, I would say maybe consider waiting for a PS5 Pro or Slim. You know that's coming out at least next year, probably the year after. If you can wait till 2024 and hang on to the games that still run on PS4, by the time you get a PS5 Pro or Slim, a lot of the games you're missing in between that are next gen only are going to be released on PS Plus Extra or Premium, or at the very least they'll be like 20 or 30 bucks, so you'll be able to get them even cheaper. If this price increase meant more PS5s were going out into the wild and people were able to just go pick them up at the store like you can with an Xbox Series X or S or a Nintendo Switch, then I would say, okay, I hate this idea of raising the price on it, but if raising the price means more PS5s get made and more people get them, I'm okay with it. I'm like neutral on it, but that's not the case. We're seeing the exact same shortage that we saw last year and that we saw the year before when the PS5 was coming out right now in 2022. So I just don't see how in the long run increasing the price is going to help us as consumers. If you see a PS5 on a store shelf and you just grab it, I would say buy it. But if you're one of those people who's like thinking about resorting to scalp prices, or you're going to get one on eBay or maybe buy one used, I would personally say just wait for the Pro or Slim at this point, because that's probably when the prices will even back out. Next up, we got to revisit this whole Savage Studios thing, because at the time I was like a little iffy on Sony buying a mobile game studio, because like, why are you dumping resources into mobile games? I get from the business aspect why they're thinking about this. They're looking at games like Apex Legends Mobile or Dead by Daylight Mobile or Diablo Immortal. As much as we love to hate it, that game made $100 million because all of the people who love complaining about microtransactions still spend money on microtransactions, and it sucks. I mean, I know whales also spend a ton of money on this stuff, but they're making $100 million on Diablo Immortal, and it's only been out for a couple months. That's just a sad state of affairs where us gamers cannot resist the microtransactions hold on our throat. But still, when you look at Sony's history of making awesome handheld games like Resistance Retribution, MotorStorm Arctic Edge, Uncharted The Golden Abyss, and Killzone Mercenary, it's like, why are you not looking at the success that the Nintendo Switch and Steam Deck are having and just pouring resources into making a successor to the Vita? I mean, even comparing the Vita to the Nintendo Switch, the Vita does more stuff than the Nintendo Switch does. It plays a lot of the exact same games other than the Nintendo games. There are a ton of great indie games on the PlayStation Vita. It has cross-game chat where if someone's on a PS4 or I'm pretty sure a PS5, you can jump in a party with them on your PS Vita, which is crazy when you look at the fact that you need an app for the Nintendo Switch. It's got Bluetooth, it's got PS1 emulation, it's got PSP emulation. The sky is the goddamn limit on the Vita, and they're just sitting back and letting Valve and Nintendo eat their lunch, and they're digging their heels in even farther by creating a mobile division within Sony. So yeah, they're buying Savage Studios. I would imagine they're going to be buying more studios, and then we're going to see more mobile games coming out of Sony. Now, this obviously worries me because of Nintendo's history with this. Like, if you look at Nintendo, they do have some predatory practices when it comes to pricing games, like all these Wii U ports coming over to the Switch being $60. That's a little egregious, but as far as DLC and microtransactions go, they've stayed pretty far away from it. They've done season passes and stuff like that, but it's all light touch stuff that doesn't really make you want to buy it all unless you're really into the game, and I think that's the way to do it. They also put out mobile games in a partnership with a different company whose name is escaping me right now, but the point is they saw the reputation hit they took when all these games came out, and they saw like all the microtransactions and all the free-to-play aspects really hurting the brands of stuff like Mario Kart and Animal Crossing, and then they said, okay, we're gonna make a $10 Mario game called Super Mario Run, and everyone liked it. They're like, why don't you just release these games on your handheld console, the Nintendo Switch? And what did Nintendo do? They reoriented, they shut down a lot of their mobile games, and now they're just back to making games for handheld. So I don't know what Sony's goal is here. I don't know if they're gonna have microtransactions or be crazy free to play with their stuff like a lot of the other mobile games we see are. I just think this is not a good direction for Sony to be pumping resources into, because, you know, all of these studios they're buying to make mobile games could very well be support studios on stuff like The Last of Us multiplayer mode. But hey, it looks like we're going to see some live service mobile games coming in the future, so it doesn't really make sense to complain about it now because it's happening. And the last news story I have for you guys is about Konami, the most mysterious game publisher that doesn't make games anymore. So Tokyo Game Show is coming up, and the last time we heard from Konami was last summer when they were doing an E3 showcase that they canceled like the day it was actually happening, and we have not heard anything from them since, other than that amazing Castlevania Advance collection they put out last year. Other than that, it's been like radio silence, and now they're crawling back out of their Konami hole to say that they're going to have a big announcement at TGS 2022, which is coming up very soon, and it's going to be an unknown game in a world-loved series. And despite the fact that Konami doesn't release a lot of games anymore, if you look at the franchises they own, they have a lot of world-loved series. I'm talking stuff like Castlevania, stuff like Metal Gear Solid, Silent Hill. Those are three of the biggest franchises in gaming, and if it's a new game in any of those series, unless it's something like Metal Gear Solid Survive or that new Contra game they made for Switch, I'm going to be pretty dang excited. So right now when I'm recording this video, it's September 2nd, and TGS starts on the 15th of September, so we don't have that much longer to wait. But I would personally love if it was Metal Gear Solid. We know that something's happening with Silent Hill. We know Bloober Team is working on something. We also know that they're remaking Silent Hill 2 for some reason. That's kind of cool. I'm excited for those. Metal Gear Solid's like one of my favorite game franchises in the entire world, and I think it's crazy that we haven't seen anything from that since Metal Gear Solid Survive. So if I'm putting my hat in the ring and guessing what game is going to be revealed, I'm just going to cross my fingers and hope it's Metal Gear Solid related.